Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my Mission Inspiration Mixed Media Art Journal page. This is a group that's provided by Mike Deacon Art Channel, and it's a Facebook group. You can go over there and join by just searching Mission Inspiration. And he has a prompt list and also color suggestions and even some word or theme suggestions on his challenge. This is for the month of May 2018. So I'm starting out on a page that had some paint kind of scraped on it, and you have leftover paint. And the color scheme wasn't really right, so I put some white gesso over it. I also have taped off the edges so that I don't make a mess. And I decided to change the color scheme because I just felt like collaging some gel printed papers on, and so I picked colors that were in the color scheme of moss, sunflower, and rust, and I'm collaging those on by just tearing and then using some Liquitex matte gel medium to put them on the page. It's fairly random, but I am considering putting colors in kind of triangular. You know how your eye will travel around in a circle if you put things in a triangle, like those three yellow pieces are in a triangle, and then I'm putting some of the more orangey rust color ones on, and I will put another piece of that craft colored deli paper that has the broccoli printing on it with the moss color, so that everything is kind of in threes or in odd numbers. And this to me is very relaxing. This is the way I like to start a lot of my projects, is by collaging paper on. Even if it's not going to end up being a paper pieced sort of a page, I still just like to have that pattern and color in the background to give me a start. And also this is helping to cover up the pink and green colors that were in the background to start out with. So sometimes you use what's on your page if you scrape extra paint, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you kind of cover it up. There's still a little bit showing, but it's not affecting the design of the page at all. So once I gave that a good dry, then I'm starting the steps. Step one is to add texture paste with a spatula. Now the normal thing to do with this sort of a prompt is to use a stencil and make a textured raised area on your page by scraping the texture paste through a stencil, and then that makes a shape in your background. But I was looking at the word tropics as one of the choices on the challenge, and I just felt like making a textured palm tree. I love trees, any type of trees, and the idea of sitting under a palm tree and relaxing just seems so nice to me right now. I just would love to do that. So that's kind of what made me decide, I guess, the word tropics, and then thinking about sitting under a palm tree and in the sand and just relaxing, maybe having a pina colada or something. It's just so, it's just exactly what I want to do. Of course, I won't be doing that, but you can always think about it, and your art journal pages are often about what's going on in your head, what's going on in your heart, what you're thinking about at the time. Definitely influences all sort of art, and certainly your art journal pages. In fact, that's kind of what the exercise of art journaling is working through what's going on in your life, what's going on in your head, what you're thinking about, what you're fantasizing about. It's definitely going to come out in an art journal, and it's kind of a visual record of what was going on at the time, and helps you as you look back through those years of art journal. It's the same as if you were writing a diary, kind of, only it's in visual format instead of writing format. And sometimes often people do write on their art journal pages. I don't really write on my art journal pages I figure in 5 years when I look at this, I'll remember the feeling of wanting to get away from my life and go to a beach and just chill. I'll remember that's how I was feeling at this time just by looking at what is displayed on the page. So sometimes that's how it works with art journaling. Sometimes other things inspire you, like by, a color combo or just an idea that you get by looking at something that you see out in the world. But sometimes art journaling is called visual journaling, and that's really kind of what it is just getting your guts onto the paper in a visual format. So I use the texture paste and palette knife to create a textured palm tree on my page, and then a little bit of sand at the bottom by spreading and scratching and generally drawing with it. And of course that's white right now, and I had to dry that a lot because it wasn't going to dry very quickly. But I knew that the next step was spritz or spray colors. And so I got out some different Tattered Angels sprays. A couple of them are the flat sprays that don't have any shimmer in them, and a couple of them are the shimmer. I wasn't considering any of that, only just the colors. So I was looking for the colors of the color scheme, which is moss, sunflower, and rust. So I picked up a yellow and a kind of a darker yellow and a rust color, and I'm spraying them onto the page over the areas that are textured, and then also using a bit of water and my heat tool to kind of direct the color down into the grooves and texture of the texture paste and letting it soak into that and give me highlights and shadows within that texture. And I'm also using the plastic straw inside the bottle to kind of drag some of it. And sometimes you want it to be more directed, and you can certainly draw and spatter and do all kinds of things with that plastic straw on the inside. It's another way to use ink sprays. I have a lot of ink sprays, all different kinds. The Tattered Angels ones are not water resistant, so I'm basically making this my final color. I'm not planning on putting any more layers over this, really. Not a lot anyway. Not anything that's going to be particularly wet, because if I did, I would be smearing that color all over the place. So I went into it realizing that the sprays that I was using were water reactive. So the next step was to add natural textures or fibers. So I got out some of this jute twine, and I'm making it into like little ball knots. It's not technical at all. I'm just wrapping it up and making them look like, it reminds me of coconut fiber. And so this palm tree is now becoming a coconut palm, because I'm going to put some coconuts up under the canopy there where they would live if this was a coconut palm. And so my natural jute fibers are becoming coconuts. And I'm using some DAP Rapid Fuse as kind of like a gel super glue to glue these. I'm also getting it all over my fingers, and it's going to stay on there for a while. It's just how things happen. So a lot like super glue, and the scary thing about this is I don't have any super glue remover, so there's a really good possibility that I could have stuck my hands to the page and been forever stuck, but whatever, it was quick and easy. So the next thing, I think I skipped a step. There was a splatters step, add splatters, and I did that just by splattering with those same sprays. I'm sure you guys noticed that, but I did not, as I was watching and voicing over. The next one was to add one or more focal images, and I have this stamp set. It's from Stampin' Up, and it's from a long time ago, but I decided to use that image of the people cuddling on the beach looking out over something. I didn't make an ocean or anything, so I don't know what they're looking at. Maybe there's a sunset, but um, I've always liked this image. It seems so comforting to me to just think about that. So I wanted to put that on. I was looking for tissue paper because I wanted to stamp it on tissue paper and put it on there, but I couldn't find any tissue paper. I think I used it all up. So I put it on deli paper, and to make it super dark and distinct, I used black gesso and sponged that onto the image to stamp it instead of using a stamping ink. Normally I would use an archival ink and stamp it on there, but I wanted it black and thick and heavy. So I used the black gesso, which is the blackest thing that I have, to stamp it onto the deli paper, tear it out, and then put it on there with some Liquitex Fluid Matte Medium. And it almost disappears. You can see a little bit of an edge, but it's pretty good. These are my new Stabilo Woody crayons. You know, Stabilo All pencil is something that a lot of us use a lot, and it's a very highly water reactive pencil. This is the same type of stuff, only it's in all different colors, and they're big fat crayons. I think they're marketed for children, but they're also water soluble and just neat and fun and kind of a soft waxy consistency. And so I haven't really used them in any videos yet. I just got them, but they're fun, and I will probably be using them some more. So I use them just to color in my image, and then I'm taking a Posca pen and kind of extending the image. It has some scratchy looking grass, so I kind of extended that out so that it just isn't right there next to the stamped image and makes it more blending into the background. So then the next one was to add illegible handwritten text, and so I'm just writing well, I have a kind of a saying or poem in my head, but you can't read what it says at all. And I did that with a white Posca pen. Just kind of ideas about sitting on the beach and relaxing and those type of things. So the next one was to add book text or paper shapes. I didn't really want to do this. I had no need for any more paper, but it's one of the steps. And so I just cut out some little shell shapes and out of some book text and put those on using a glue stick. And then eventually I fleshed them out a little bit with my Stabilo All pencil at the end of the video. And I also add a little bit of color to them so that they blend in a little bit better. I thought of something else I wanted to write, so I illegibly wrote it. It really just creates some texture in the background is all that's doing. But here I am adding a little bit of color, that same Spritz stuff from Tattered Angels. So the final step was to finish with a border or a frame. I have this ruler. It's called a decal edge ruler, and its original intent is to help you tear paper that looks kind of like a rough deckled edge, only you can still tear it straight. And I've had that for a long time, but I thought it would make an interesting way to make a border. I could have just scribbled the same border, but it worked out better to do it with that, and I just used my black Posca pen for that. So here I am just kind of drawing around and making a shadow around my little shell shapes and kind of removing some of the Stabilo Woody off of the black lines with a water tank brush. And I think that's it for me. Here comes your close-ups. Bye-bye.